In this video, I'm going to tell you how to feed a baby bird if you find a bird that is not being fed by its parents. But before I tell you how to feed a baby bird, I have to tell you the first important thing. Put the bird back in the nest. If it's possible, you put the bird back in the nest. It's better for the parent bird to raise it than for a human being to raise it. That's like rule number one. If there's a parent bird feeding that bird, leave it alone. The parent bird knows way better than a human does of how to raise its baby. Let the parent bird do it. Stay out of the way. Having said that, sometimes you'll find a bird that has no parent birds in the area. Maybe the parent birds were attacked by predators, or maybe a landscaper accidentally ran over a nest, or whatever happened, and there are no parent birds feeding the bird. And the bird's been screaming for food for 6 hours and nobody's feeding it. In that case, then it's urgent. Rule number 3, if you could get that bird to a bird rehabber, then do that. Bird rehabbers are in every state in America, and they can raise birds for you. They won't take invasive species. An invasive species is a bird that wasn't part of this ecosystem and then maybe came in from another country. So invasive birds, a lot of people won't raise them for you. So sometimes you have no choice but to feed this screaming baby that's in front of you. So here's how you do it. You'll notice the baby is not afraid of you. All the baby wants is some food. So he's sitting there with his mouth open. When you get near him, his mouth is open. That's called gaping. He's gaping for food. And the mother bird would then, with her beak, she would put her food in the baby bird's mouth. That's what you have to simulate as a human. I use a little tweezers, if you have a plastic tweezers or a metal tweezers with a rounded end. I mean, you don't have to be too careful, because think about a mother bird's beak is pointy and is going into the gaped beak of the baby, okay? And believe me, once the food's in there, he's going to grab it. Sometimes he'll jump all over your tweezer to grab it. If the bird's a larger bird, you can use your fingers, but I'd rather have you wear gloves and a tweezer. Other times, depending on the food I'm giving, I can use one of these little syringes that I could suck the food into and then give the tiniest squirt of food. You don't want to shove it down the baby's throat. You're kind of presenting it to his throat, and he takes it from you. Here's Gerber chicken, and I'm going to actually just dip this in. I'm not going to suck the food up. I'm just going to use the tip of it. And then when I bring this over to the baby bird, he'll be able to eat it. You also can give them high-protein puppy food or kitten food. You buy the dry food, and then you soak it in warm water for about 10 minutes until it's wet and soft. You have to squeeze the excess water out so the bird doesn't drown. But then, once it's damp, you can break it up into small pieces, small enough to fit in the bird's beak. And that I will use this tweezers for. Don't give them water. I know your instinct is, hey, he's been out here starving in the sun, he needs water. Birds can easily inhale water, and then they get pneumonia, and then they die. So don't give them water. The food I'm going to tell you to give them will be damp. None of this is rocket science. I'm not a bird rehabber. I'm not licensed. I just have had birds presented to me. I know, hey, this thing is starving. I'm going to feed it. It's as simple as that. What the adult bird eats is not necessarily what the infant needs, okay? The adult bird might be a seed eater, like sparrows are seed eaters, but the sparrow's not feeding his baby seeds. He's feeding them protein, regurgitated, okay? So the mother bird will eat whatever the bird is, robin, starling, grackle, sparrow. The mother bird goes out and gathers food, and whatever it is, right? Whatever she's eating, worms, seeds, fruits, bread, whatever she eats, she swallows and then regurgitates it for her baby. So the baby is getting chewed up, regurgitated protein. Do an internet search for what do you feed a baby bird, and you'll get tons of information. I avoid earthworms because I read they could contain parasites that can harm a baby bird. There's so much useful information on spruce.com, on PETA, on Humane Society and bird rehabber websites. I even watched the Dodo. There are so many people helping you raise baby animals and rescue animals. You can see bird development charts to chart their life cycle, see what they eat and when do they learn to fly. It's all out there on the internet. I didn't make any of it up. I researched it all on the web before I helped any bird. And of course, this is if you need to intervene, because if there's a parent bird, you stay out of it. But if you have to feed the bird, and you did this research, now we know they need protein, a dry kitten food from a pet store or a grocery store. You can do the same with high protein, dry puppy food. You wet it in warm water, squeeze out the excess, and then you have a mush, right? It should simulate regurgitated bird food from the mother. If you don't have the dry, let's say you have a cat and you have high protein cat food, again, little bits, the size of a pea or smaller. If you don't have access to pet food, but you have baby food, make sure it's a high protein baby food, like this Gerber chicken is high in protein. I've also used Gerber multigrain cereal, which you mix with a little water so it's damp. If you have scrambled eggs, you could mash it up into like mashed potato consistency. And if you want to add some kitten food to that, a drop of Gerber baby food, and then mix it all up, and it's just like regurgitated protein from the mother. And then you could feed them that on a tweezer, a small pea-sized bit. Ready? If the bird is not gaping for food, just touch his nose gently on the beak, and he'll open his mouth. He's used to being fed when there's movement on the nest, okay? So the nest is sitting there, the mother bird flies in, lands on the nest, and then he senses the movement, maybe a shadow. Back up, approach the bird, and touch his nose, and he'll open, and then you put the food in, he takes it. How do I know how much food to give him? The bird stops eating when he's full, and you'll see the food isn't going into their belly. The food goes into their neck, and there's a crop here. They store that food there, and then they pull it back in as they need it. Baby birds, right, born, say the last week or so, they got to be fed every 20 minutes. They'll eat, then they'll sleep. They'll just sleep right there. So have a dim room ready. I make a little nest for them out of a wicker basket. I maybe put a fleece in there. I put a paper towel in there to make them comfortable. Put the nest somewhere safe and quiet in a semi-darkened room, and every 20 minutes you'll feed the baby. As they start to age, then it's every 30 minutes, then it's every 45 minutes, then it's every hour. All of these timetables of their lifespan, of their eating schedule, of what you feed them, it's all on the internet. That's how I found it. If it's at all possible, leave the baby bird for the adult birds to take care of. If you can see the nest and you can safely put the baby back in it, then do that. I actually refuse to take care of birds if the adult birds are there or if there's a nest. If there's any reason that baby is not being fed, then you want to intervene. I hope this video helped. Feel free to share your information in the comments and feel free to subscribe.